The sleek, crystalline starship hurtled through the inky void of space, its destination looming ever larger in the viewport. Alia's heart raced as she gazed upon the blue-green orb of Earth, so different from the gleaming crystal deserts of her homeworld, Zircon. Final approach sequence initiated, announced Vera, her exoskeleton clicking as she manipulated the ship's controls. Brace for atmospheric entry. Alia gripped her seat, her own iridescent exoskeleton shimmering with anticipation. As the youngest xenobiologist on the mission, she had the most to prove. This was her chance to make groundbreaking discoveries about the bizarre, soft-bodied creatures that inhabited this alien world. The ship shuddered as it plunged into Earth's atmosphere, friction heating the crystalline hull to a dull red glow. Alia's team of 5 female Zirconian scientists watched in tense silence as Vera expertly guided them through turbulent air currents. Scanning for suitable landing site, reported Nyx, her multifaceted eyes flickering over holographic readouts. Detecting large area of vegetation approximately 100 kilometers from nearest human settlement. Perfect, said Alia, leaning forward. Set us down there. We need to avoid detection until we've had a chance to observe the natives up close. The ship descended through wispy clouds, revealing a vast expanse of green below. Alia marveled at the alien forest, so different from the towering crystal spires of home. As they neared the ground, she could make out individual trees swaying in the wind. With a gentle thud, the ship touched down in a small clearing. Alia's heart pounded with excitement as she stood, her exoskeleton plates shifting to accommodate the movement. Remember, we must exercise extreme caution, warned Azira, the eldest of the group. Her voice crackled with static through their communicators. These humans are unpredictable. We know little of their capabilities or intentions. Alia nodded, trying to mask her eagerness. Of course, Professor. We'll follow all safety protocols. The team donned their protective suits, designed to shield them from Earth's unfamiliar atmosphere and potential biological hazards. Alia's antenna twitched with anticipation as the airlock hissed open, revealing their first glimpse of the alien world. She stepped out onto the forest floor, her armored foot sinking slightly into the soft earth. The sensation was so foreign that she nearly lost her balance. By the crystal moons, breathed Lyra, the team's geologist. The ground, it's so yielding. Alia knelt, scooping up a handful of dirt and watching it crumble between her fingers. Fascinating. The entire planet seems to be composed of these loose, organic materials. The Zirconians spread out, cataloging the strange flora and collecting samples. Alia's scientific mind raced as she documented the incredible diversity of life forms surrounding them. Even the air felt different, heavy with moisture and filled with the chirping sounds of unseen creatures. Alia, come quickly. Nyx's urgent voice crackled through the communicator. We found something extraordinary. Heart racing, Alia rushed to join her teammate at the edge of a small lake. What she saw there nearly stopped her hearts. A group of humans, completely unaware of the alien observers, were splashing in the water. Their bare skin glistened in the sunlight, every movement revealing the strange, soft contours of their bodies. Great crystals, whispered Alia, her voice a mix of fascination and revulsion. They're so exposed. Where are their exoskeletons? Zira's voice cut in, sharp with warning. Maintain distance. We can't risk contamination or discovery. But Alia couldn't tear her eyes away. The humans laughed and played, their bodies twisting in ways that should have been impossible without a proper skeletal structure. How could such fragile-looking creatures survive, let alone thrive? I'm going to get a closer look, Alia decided, her scientific curiosity overriding her initial disgust. Alia, no, Zira hissed, but it was too late. Creeping through the underbrush, Alia approached the lakeshore. She activated her suit's cloaking device, rendering herself nearly invisible. Up close, the humans were even more bizarre. Their skin rippled and flexed, lacking any sort of protective plating. And their faces, so expressive, with features that seemed to constantly shift and change. Suddenly, a twig snapped beneath Alia's foot. One of the humans, a male with dark hair, turned sharply in her direction. For a heart-stopping moment, Alia thought she'd been discovered. The human squinted, peering into the forest. Hello, is someone there? Alia froze, not daring to move. Her cloaking technology wasn't perfect. A keen observer might notice a slight shimmer in the air. She held her breath, praying the human would lose interest. Instead, he began to wade out of the water, calling to his companions. "I'm going to check something out. Be right back." Panic gripped Alia as the human approached. She needed to retreat to get back to the safety of the ship, but her fascination kept her rooted to the spot. The human was now mere meters away, close enough for Alia to see the individual hairs on his head, the subtle variations in his skin tone. His eyes, a startling shade of green, seemed to look right through her. "Hello?" he called again, softer this time. "I know you're there. I'm not going to hurt you." Alia's hearts raced. This was it. First contact. Everything they'd prepared for, all their careful plans, were about to be thrown out the airlock. She should run, should maintain the secrecy of their mission. But something in the human's voice, a gentleness she hadn't expected, made her hesitate. With trembling hands, Alia reached up and deactivated her cloaking device. The human's eyes widened in shock as she shimmered into view. He stumbled backward, nearly losing his footing on the uneven ground. "Holy shit," he breathed, staring at Alia's alien form. You're not from around here, are you?" Alia's translator struggled to process the colloquialism, but she understood the sentiment. She shook her head slowly, her antenna twitching nervously. "My name is Alex," the human said, recovering somewhat from his initial shock. He held up his hands in what Alia assumed was meant to be a non-threatening gesture. "I'm a biologist. I study life forms. And you're the most incredible life form I've ever seen." Alia's scientific mind kicked into overdrive, analyzing every detail of this close encounter. The human's voice was unlike anything she'd heard before, rich with tones and inflections her own speech synthesizer couldn't replicate. "Alia," she managed to say, her own name sounding strange through the translator. "I am also a student of life." Alex's face broke into a wide grin, an expression that Alia found both fascinating and slightly unnerving. "This is amazing. I have so many questions. Where are you from? How did you get here? What—" He was cut off by the sound of voices calling from the lake. "Alex, everything okay over there?" Panic flashed across Alex's face, mirroring Alia's own alarm. I have to go," he said quickly. "But please don't leave. This is too important. I want to help you, to learn from you." Alia hesitated, torn between her mission parameters and the unprecedented opportunity before her. "It is not safe," she said. "My presence here must remain secret." Alex nodded eagerly. Of course. I understand. Look, I come to this forest often for my research. Meet me here tomorrow at sunset. I promise I'll come alone." Before Alia could respond, Alex turned and hurried back toward the lake, calling out reassurances to his friends. She watched him go, her mind reeling from the encounter. "Alia!" Zira's voice crackled through her communicator, tight with anger and concern. "Report to the ship immediately." With a last glance at the retreating human, Alia activated her cloaking device and made her way back to her team. Her hearts pounded with a mix of excitement and trepidation. She knew she should tell Zira everything, that the mission had been compromised. But a small part of her, the part that had driven her to become a xenobiologist in the first place, whispered that this was the opportunity of a lifetime. As she approached the ship, Alia made a decision. She would meet Alex again, secret or not. The chance to study humans up close, to truly understand these strange, soft creatures, was too valuable to pass up. The rest of the team was waiting for her at the ship's entrance, their postures radiating tension and disapproval. "What were you thinking?" Zira demanded as soon as Alia was within earshot. "You could have jeopardized the entire mission." Alia straightened, her exoskeleton plates shifting defiantly. "I was gathering valuable data on human behavior and physiology. Isn't that why we're here? Not at the expense of our safety and secrecy?" Nix interjected, her multifaceted eyes flickering with concern. "Did they see you?" Vera asked, her tone sharp. "Were you detected?" Alia hesitated, knowing her next words would shape the course of their mission. She thought of Alex, of the eagerness in his eyes and the potential for understanding between their species. "No," she lied, her voice steady. "My cloaking device functioned perfectly. They were completely unaware of my presence." The tension in the group visibly eased, though Zira still regarded her with suspicion. "We'll discuss this further inside," she said. "For now, we need to analyze the data we've collected and plan our next move." As they filed into the ship, Alia's mind raced. She had bought herself time, but what would she do with it? The logical part of her knew that meeting Alex again was dangerous, potentially catastrophic for their mission. But the scientist in her, the part that craved knowledge and understanding, couldn't resist the opportunity. Inside the ship, the team gathered around the holographic display, reviewing their findings. Alia half listened as her colleagues discussed soil samples and atmospheric readings, her thoughts still lingering on the lakeshore encounter. "Alia," Lyra's voice snapped her back to the present. "What's your assessment of the human biological structures we observed?" Pushing aside her inner turmoil, Alia focused on the scientific challenge before her. "Their anatomy is unlike anything we've encountered," she began, calling up holographic models based on their observations. "No exoskeleton, as we noted earlier. Their entire body seems to be supported by an internal framework of, I hesitate to call them crystals, some kind of organic support structure." "And their outer covering," prompted Nix, leaning in to examine the hologram. "A flexible, self-repairing membrane," Alia explained, warming to the subject. "It seems to serve multiple functions: protection, temperature regulation, sensory input. But it's incredibly vulnerable compared to our own exoskeletons." Zira nodded, her own scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her earlier anger. "And yet they've managed to become the dominant species on this planet. How?" Alia paused, considering. "I'm not sure," she admitted, "but I intend to find out." As the discussion continued, Alia's resolve strengthened. She would meet Alex again. Risks be damned. The chance to truly understand these fascinating creatures was worth any potential consequences. As the Earth's sun began to set, casting long shadows through the crystal viewport, Alia made her decision. She would sneak out at the appointed time, using every bit of stealth technology at her disposal. The others would be engrossed in their data analysis. She'd have a window of opportunity. "I'm going to run some additional scans of the local flora," she announced, careful to keep her voice neutral. "The bioluminescent properties I observed earlier warrant further investigation." Zira glanced up from her workstation, her compound eyes narrowing slightly. "Very well, but maintain communication protocols and do not engage with any native life forms. Is that clear?" Alia nodded, guilt gnawing at her as she prepared to disobey a direct order. But the pull of discovery was too strong to resist. As she exited the ship, her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The forest had transformed in the fading light, taking on an almost ethereal quality. Bioluminescent insects flitted between the trees, creating a dazzling light show. Under different circumstances, Alia would have been captivated by the alien beauty, but her focus was singular. Reach the meeting point without detection. As she approached the lake, Alia spotted a solitary figure waiting at the water's edge. Alex paced nervously, occasionally glancing at a device strapped to his wrist. Alia took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. With a final check of her cloaking device, she stepped out of the forest cover. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Alex said softly as she shimmered into view. His eyes roamed over her alien form with undisguised fascination. "The pursuit of knowledge often requires taking risks," Alia replied, her translator struggling to convey the nuances of Zirconian idioms. Alex nodded, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I couldn't agree more. Listen, I know this is probably against all sorts of protocols for both of us, but I think this could be the beginning of something incredible. A chance for our species to learn from each other, to bridge the gap between worlds." Alia's antenna twitched with interest. "You're not afraid? Your people have no knowledge of life beyond your planet." "Oh, I'm terrified," Alex admitted with a soft laugh. "But I'm also a scientist. The opportunity to study an advanced alien species? It's a dream come true." As they talked, the initial awkwardness faded. Alia found herself drawn in by Alex's quick mind and genuine curiosity. They exchanged information about their respective planets, marveling at the differences and occasional surprising similarities. "Your world sounds amazing," Alex said, his eyes shining with wonder as Alia described Zircon's crystal cities and binary star system. But I have to ask, why Earth? What brought you here specifically? Alia hesitated, weighing how much to reveal. We detected radio signals, she said carefully. Your broadcasts piqued our interest. We came to observe, to learn about your species without interfering. Alex nodded thoughtfully. A scientific mission, then? Not invasion or anything like that? No, Alia assured him quickly. We have no interest in conquest, only knowledge. Relief washed over Alex's expressive face. That's good to hear. Listen, I want to help you. I can be your guide to Earth, help you understand our culture, our biology. In exchange, I'd love to learn more about your people, your technology. Alia's hearts raced at the prospect. This was exactly what she'd hoped for, a chance for true cultural exchange. But the risks. It would be dangerous, she warned, if my team discovered I'd made contact. We'll be careful, Alex promised. I won't tell anyone about you. We can meet in secret, exchange information. Think of the breakthroughs we could make. Alia knew she should refuse, should return to her ship and forget this ever happened. But the scientist in her, the part that had driven her across the galaxy in search of new life, wouldn't let her walk away. All right, she said, her decision made. We'll work together, but we must be extremely cautious. Alex's face lit up with a grin that Alia was starting to find oddly endearing. You won't regret this, he said, extending his hand in what she recognized as a human greeting gesture. Hesitantly, Alia reached out her own limb, marveling at the strange sensation as their vastly different anatomies made contact. In that moment, she knew her life, and potentially the future of both their species, had changed forever. As they parted ways, making plans to meet again, Alia's mind raced with the possibilities ahead. She had come to Earth seeking knowledge about an alien species. Instead, she may have stumbled upon the greatest discovery in the history of both their worlds. With a final glance at Alex's retreating form, Alia activated her cloaking device and melted back into the forest. Her heart pounded with a mixture of scientific excitement and something else, an emotion she couldn't quite name, but one that made the stars themselves seem to shine a little brighter. As dawn broke over the forest, Alia snuck back into the Zirconian ship, her mind whirling with excitement from her clandestine meeting with Alex. She barely had time to compose herself before Zira's voice crackled over the intercom. Team meeting in 5 clicks. We need to discuss our next phase of observation. Alia's hearts raced. How could she keep her encounter with Alex a secret while pushing for more direct interaction with humans? She steeled herself and entered the ship's command center. Zira's compound eyes narrowed as Alia took her place around the holographic display. Your night scans proved most illuminating, Alia. Care to share your findings? Thinking quickly, Alia pulled up the data she had genuinely collected on the bioluminescent flora. The ecosystem here is far more complex than we initially thought. The interplay between nocturnal and diurnal species alone could revolutionize our understanding of evolutionary processes. As she spoke, an idea formed. In fact, I believe we need to expand our observation range. Limiting ourselves to this forest gives us an incomplete picture of Earth's biodiversity and human impact on it. Nix chittered in agreement. I concur. My geological surveys indicate vast differences in terrain even within a small radius. We're missing crucial data. Zira's antennae twitched with skepticism. And how do you propose we conduct these wider observations without risking detection? Alia's mind raced back to her conversation with Alex. Our cloaking technology has proven effective so far. If we maintain strict protocols, we could venture into more populated areas. The potential scientific gains far outweigh the risks. A tense debate ensued, with Vera and Lyra voicing concerns about safety. But in the end, scientific curiosity won out. Zira reluctantly approved a series of short excursions to nearby human settlements. As the team prepared for their first venture beyond the forest, Alia's communicator vibrated with an encrypted message. Alex had come through with a plan. Over the next few weeks, Alia led her team on carefully orchestrated, random explorations that just happened to coincide with Alex's suggested itinerary. They observed bustling city centers, quaint rural towns, and everything in between. Alex's insights proved invaluable, helping the Zirconians contextualize the bewildering array of human behaviors and social structures they encountered. During one particularly memorable excursion to a crowded farmer's market, Alia found herself both fascinated and overwhelmed by the cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells. Her sensory organs, adapted for Zircon's crystal deserts, struggled to process the riot of colors and textures. "Remarkable," she murmured to Nix, who stood cloaked beside her. "Such inefficiency in their food distribution, and yet there's a vibrancy to it, a sense of community our hydroponics bays could never replicate." Nix's antennae quivered in agreement. "I'm detecting complex social bonds forming through these seemingly mundane transactions. It's as if the exchange of goods is secondary to the exchange of information and emotional connection." As they watched, Alex casually strolled through the market, pausing at various stalls. To any observer, he was simply a young man doing his shopping. But Alia knew he was providing a running commentary via a concealed communicator, explaining the significance of different foods and the cultural importance of supporting local agriculture. Later that evening, after the team had returned to their ship to process the day's data, Alia slipped away for her now regular private meeting with Alex. They met in a secluded glade, the setting sun painting the sky in hues that still took Alia's breath away. "Your insights have been invaluable," Alia said as she shimmered into view. "My team is making breakthroughs in our understanding of human sociology that would have taken decades through passive observation alone." Alex grinned, an expression Alia found herself looking forward to more and more. "I'm glad I could help. And I have to say, explaining my own culture to you has given me a whole new perspective on things I used to take for granted." As they sat together on a fallen log, Alia found herself studying Alex's features with a new intensity. The way the fading sunlight played across his skin, the minute movements of facial muscles that conveyed so much emotion, it was all endlessly fascinating. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," Alex said, his voice taking on a more serious tone. "Your physiology, it's so different from ours. How do Zirconians, do you have concepts like attraction, pair bonding?" Alia's crystalline structures flushed with a mixture of embarrassment and excitement. "We do," she said carefully, "though I imagine the process is quite different from humans. We have a complex system of pheromone exchange and resonant frequencies that—" She stopped, noticing the intense look in Alex's eyes. It was a look she was beginning to recognize, one that sent unfamiliar but not unpleasant sensations through her body. "I'm sorry," Alex said quickly. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. It's just, I find you incredible, Alia, not just as a scientist, but as a person." Alia's heart raced. I feel similarly, Alex. Your species continues to surprise and intrigue me, and you specifically have become far more than just a subject of study." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the vast differences between their species seemed to melt away. Alex leaned in slightly, and Alia found herself mirroring the movement. But before their strange experiment in interspecies affection could progress further, Alia's communicator buzzed urgently. She pulled back, checking the message with a growing sense of dread. "What is it?" Alex asked, concern evident in his voice. "It's Zira," Alia said, her antennae drooping. "She's demanding an immediate return to the ship. Something's wrong." As Alia raced back through the forest, her mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The connection she felt with Alex both thrilled and terrified her. It was so far beyond the scope of their mission, beyond anything she had ever experienced. But there was no time to dwell on it now. Whatever was happening back at the ship, it couldn't be good. She arrived to find the rest of her team in a state of barely controlled panic. Vera was furiously working at the ship's main console, while Nix and Lyra argued in hushed, urgent tones. "What's going on?" Alia demanded as she entered. Zira's compound eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made Alia's exoskeleton crawl. "We've been compromised," she said flatly. "Someone has been transmitting data about our presence to human authorities." Alia's hearts nearly stopped. "That's impossible," she stammered. "Our security protocols were clearly insufficient," Zira cut her off. "The transmissions originated from within our own systems. One of us is a traitor." The accusation hung in the air like a toxic gas. Alia's mind raced. Could Alex have betrayed her trust? No, it didn't make sense. He had too much to lose by exposing their presence, which meant her gaze fell on Zira, whose posture radiated a mixture of anger and, was that satisfaction? With a sickening realization, Alia understood. Zira had never fully bought into the mission's peaceful objectives. She had always pushed for a more aggressive approach to studying Earth. It was you, Alia said, her voice barely above a whisper. You're trying to force a confrontation. Zira's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smirk. Our people deserve to know the truth about this planet's resources, its potential. We've cowered in the shadows long enough. You're going to start a war, Lyra exclaimed, her usually calm demeanor shattered. I'm going to ensure our rightful place in the galaxy, Zira shot back. These humans are primitive, divided. With our technology, we could... She never finished the sentence. In a move that surprised even herself, Alia lunged forward, using her smaller size and quicker reflexes to tackle Zira to the ground. They grappled, a tangle of crystalline limbs and clicking exoskeletons. Vera! Alia shouted as she struggled to pin Zira down. Lock down all communications. Don't let her transmit anything else. The rest of the team snapped into action. Vera's appendages flew over the controls, severing their connection to Earth's communication networks. Nyx and Lyra moved to help restrain Zira, who fought with the strength of fanatical conviction. As they finally subdued her, Alia's communicator buzzed once more. With a sense of dread, she checked the message. It was from Alex, and it confirmed her worst fears. Alia, something's happening. There are government vehicles converging on the forest. Military, too. Whatever you've been hiding, I think they know. Get out of there. Alia looked up at her team, at the ship that had been their home for months, and at Zira, now securely bound, but still radiating defiance. In that moment, she knew their mission, and perhaps the future of human-Zirconian relations, balanced on a knife's edge. We need to leave, she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within, but not before we try to fix this. Vera, how quickly can you get our emergency beacon online? Vera's appendages twitched uncertainly. Minutes maybe, but Alia, if we alert our homeworld to the situation, it's better than letting Zira's twisted version of events reach them first. Alia cut her off. We need to tell the truth, all of it. And then, she took a deep breath, knowing her next words would change everything. And then we need to make contact with the humans, real, official contact. It's the only way to prevent this from spiraling into conflict. The ship's interior fell silent as the weight of Alia's words sank in. Years of protocol and caution warred against the urgent need for action. Finally, Nyx spoke up. She's right, the scientist said, her voice firm. We came here to learn, to understand. We can't abandon that mission now, not when it matters most. One by one, the others nodded in agreement. Even Zira, bound and defeated, seemed to deflate as she realized the inevitability of what was to come. Alia squared her shoulders, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon her. Vera, send that beacon. Nyx, Lyra, prepare our first contact protocols. She paused, knowing her next move was perhaps the riskiest of all. I'm going to speak with Alex. We're going to need a human voice of reason when their military arrives. As her team scrambled to action, Alia took a moment to center herself. She thought of all she had learned about humans in these past weeks. Their capacity for violence, yes, but also their resilience, their curiosity, their ability to adapt and grow. She thought of Alex and the connection they had forged across the vastness of space and biology. With a deep breath, Alia stepped out of the ship and into the uncertain future that awaited them all. The fate of two worlds now rested in her hands, and she was determined not to let either of them down. The forest erupted into chaos as military vehicles crashed through the underbrush, searchlights cutting through the darkness. Alia's heart pounded as she raced towards the rendezvous point, her cloaking device flickering dangerously low on power. Alex, she hissed, spotting his familiar form crouched behind a fallen log. He whirled, eyes wide with a mixture of relief and fear. Alia, thank God. We need to move now. They're sweeping the entire area. Without hesitation, Alex grasped her crystalline hand, the warmth of his skin a stark contrast to the cool night air. They plunged deeper into the forest, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter behind them. What happened? Alia gasped as they paused to catch their breath in a small clearing. Alex shook his head, frustration evident in every line of his body. I don't know. Suddenly, every government agency is on high alert. There's talk of an alien threat all over the news. Alia, they're painting your people as invaders. Elia's antennae drooped. It's Zira. She betrayed us, tried to force a confrontation. The others are attempting damage control, but the cat's out of the bag, Alex finished grimly. We need to get you somewhere safe, somewhere we can figure out our next move. Over the next harrowing weeks, Alia and Alex became fugitives, always one step ahead of those hunting them. They traversed continents, relying on Alex's knowledge of Earth's geography and Alia's advanced technology to stay hidden. In the steaming jungles of the Amazon, they narrowly escaped a team of Black Ops agents, Alia using her exoskeleton's camouflage capabilities to blend seamlessly with the vibrant foliage. As they huddled in the hollow of a massive tree, listening to their pursuers crash by, Alia marveled at the sheer diversity of life surrounding them. It's beautiful, she whispered, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding their dire situation. So different from the sterile perfection of Zircon. Alex smiled despite their circumstances. Earth's got its problems, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. Their journey took them from the sweltering heat of the rainforest to the frigid peaks of the Himalayas. As they trudged through knee-deep snow, Alia's exoskeleton straining to maintain her core temperature, she found herself increasingly in awe of human resilience. How do your people survive in such extreme environments? She asked, watching Alex navigate the treacherous mountain path with practiced ease. He shrugged, a gesture Alia had come to find endearing. We adapt. It's kind of our thing. It was during a rare moment of respite, camped in a remote Tibetan monastery, that Alia received the transmission that would change everything. Her communicator, silent for weeks, suddenly crackled to life. Alia, by the crystal moons, please respond. Nix's voice, tinny and distant, filled their small room. I'm here, Alia replied, hope and dread warring in her chest. What's happening? Nix's words tumbled out in a rush. It's worse than we feared. Zira's been feeding the human governments false information about Zirconian invasion plans. She's convinced some factions that a preemptive strike against our homeworld is the only option. Alex's face paled. That's insane. Earth doesn't have the technology for interstellar warfare. But Zircon might think they do, Alia realized, horror dawning. If they believe Earth is a genuine threat. Exactly, Nix confirmed. We're on the brink of an interplanetary war, based on nothing but lies and fear. Alia's mind raced. We need to stop this. We need to get the truth out to both sides. But how? Alex asked. Every government on Earth thinks you're the enemy, and Zircon is light years away. Alia's gaze drifted to the monastery window, where the stars twinkled in the clear mountain air. Suddenly, inspiration struck. Not every part of Earth, she said slowly. Alex, what's the one place humans have reached beyond the planet's surface? His eyes widened with understanding. The International Space Station. Over the next days, they formulated a plan as audacious as it was dangerous. Using a combination of Alia's advanced technology and Alex's human ingenuity, they would infiltrate the next supply launch to the ISS. Once aboard, they could use the station's powerful communications array to broadcast the truth to both Earth and Zircon simultaneously. Their plan led them to Kazakhstan, to the very launch pad where their fate would be decided. As they prepared to make their move, hidden among the pre-launch chaos, Alia found herself overcome with emotion. Alex, she said softly, her crystalline form shimmering in the pre-dawn light. Whatever happens up there, I want you to know that this journey has changed me. Your world, your people, you've shown me a beauty and resilience I never imagined possible. Alex's hand found hers, squeezing gently. And you've opened my eyes to the wonders of the universe, Alia. Whatever comes next, we face it together. With a final shared look of determination, they made their move. Slipping past distracted technicians and overtaxed security systems, they managed to secrete themselves aboard the supply capsule mere minutes before launch. The roar of the rockets was deafening, even through the capsule's thick walls. Alia's exoskeleton vibrated with the sheer force of liftoff, her multiple hearts racing in a way no Zirconian simulation could have prepared her for. Beside her, Alex's face was a mix of exhilaration and terror. As the blue of Earth's atmosphere gave way to the star-studded blackness of space, Alia felt a profound sense of awe. This fragile bubble of metal and composite materials was all that stood between them and the void. It was terrifying, yes, but also thrilling in a way she had never experienced before. Their docking with the ISS went smoothly, almost too smoothly. As they prepared to reveal themselves to the station's crew, alarms suddenly blared throughout the structure. "They know we're here," Alex hissed, pulling Alia into a shadowy alcove as footsteps thundered past. "How?" Alia's antennae twitched nervously. "Our signatures were masked. Her words died in her throat as a familiar figure rounded the corner, flanked by armed guards. Zira, her exoskeleton gleaming under the station's harsh lights, regarded them with a mixture of triumph and disdain. "Did you really think it would be so easy?" she sneered. "That I wouldn't anticipate your little heroics?" Alia's mind raced. How had Zira gotten here? How much control did she have over the station and its crew? "It's over, Zira," she said, trying to project a confidence she didn't entirely feel. "We're going to tell both worlds the truth. This madness ends now." Zira's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Oh, I don't think so. You see, while you've been gallivanting around that mud ball, I've been busy. The humans are so eager for advanced technology, so frightened of cosmic threats. It was child's play to manipulate them." With growing horror, Alia realized the full scope of Zira's plan. She hadn't just been sowing discord. She'd been positioning herself as Earth's savior, offering Zirconian technology in exchange for resources and power. "You're going to start a war," Alex said, his voice tight with anger. "Millions will die on both planets." "Progress requires sacrifice," Zira said dismissively. "Zircon will learn its place in the galaxy, and Earth will be remade in our image. It's for the greater good." "Like hell it is," Alex snarled, and before Alia could stop him, he launched himself at Zira. What followed was chaos. Alarms blared, crew members shouted in confusion, and the microgravity of the station turned every movement into a potential disaster. Alia found herself grappling with one of Zira's guards, her exoskeleton's superior strength giving her an advantage in the close quarters. Through the melee, she caught glimpses of Alex. Despite being physically outmatched, his agility in Zero-G was impressive. He used the station's architecture to his advantage, bouncing off walls and using momentum in ways the Zirconians struggled to counter. "The communications array," Alia shouted as she finally subdued her opponent. "We have to reach it." They fought their way through the station, Zira's forces in hot pursuit. With each section they passed, Alia used her technological interface to lock bulkheads behind them, buying precious seconds. Finally, they reached the communications hub. Alex's fingers flew over the controls, his time spent studying the station's systems paying off. "We're live," he called. "To every channel, every frequency, Earth and Zircon. It's now or never, Alia." Alia stepped up to the transmitter, her heart's pounding. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of two worlds. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "People of Earth, citizens of Zircon. I am Alia, xenobiologist of the Zirconian Exploratory Corps. What you have been told about our mission, about the intentions of our two species, is a lie." She poured out everything. The true nature of their scientific expedition, Zira's betrayal, the beauty and resilience of humanity she had witnessed firsthand. She spoke of the commonalities between their species, of the potential for cooperation and mutual growth. "We stand at a crossroads," she concluded, her voice ringing with passion. "We can choose fear, suspicion, and war. Or we can choose understanding, cooperation, and a future among the stars that neither of our species could achieve alone. The choice is ours." As she finished, the station fell silent. For a moment it seemed as if the entire universe held its breath. Then slowly, incredibly, responses began to flood in. From Earth's governments, from Zirconian High Command, from ordinary citizens of both worlds. The overwhelming sentiment was clear: peace, cooperation, a chance for a new beginning. Zira, her plans in ruins, was taken into custody by the station's crew. As the immediate crisis passed, Alia found herself floating by one of the ISS's panoramic windows, gazing down at the blue marble of Earth. Alex joined her, his hand finding hers in the weightlessness. "So," he said softly, "what happens now?" Alia's antennae quivered with emotion as she turned to face him. Now we build the future. Together." 5 years later, Alia stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Earth Zircon Cooperative Research Station. The massive structure hung in low Earth orbit, a shining beacon of interspecies cooperation. Below her, teams of human and Zirconian scientists worked side by side, unraveling the mysteries of the universe. She watched with pride as a young human researcher excitedly explained a concept to her Zirconian counterpart, their differences forgotten in the pursuit of knowledge. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Alex's voice came from behind her. She turned to see him floating towards her, a datapad in hand. "It never gets old, cluck," Alia agreed, reaching out to steady him as he came to a stop beside her. Even after all this time, the casual intimacy of their touch still sent a thrill through her. "Just got the latest reports from the Mars colony," Alex said, his eyes scanning the pad. "The Zirconian terraforming techniques are years ahead of schedule. We might see the first open-air habitats within a decade." Alia nodded, a surge of excitement coursing through her. "And the deep space probes?" "Transmitting beautifully," Alex grinned. "Your people's FTL comm technology paired with our signal processing algorithms? We're getting data from sectors we didn't even know existed." As they discussed the myriad projects underway, Alia marveled at how far they had come. The road hadn't always been smooth: cultural misunderstandings, lingering suspicions, the challenges of integrating two vastly different species. But with each passing day, the bonds between Earth and Zircon grew stronger. "Oh, before I forget," Alex said, a touch of nervousness entering his voice, "the engineering team thinks they've cracked it. The, compatibility issue." Alia's hearts quickened. They had danced around this topic for years, the physical differences between their species presenting challenges that went beyond the merely scientific. "You mean?" she began, hardly daring to hope. Alex nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension on his face. "They think they can create an interface, something that would let us, well, if that's still something you want to explore." Alia's crystalline form shimmered with emotion. "Alex," she said softly, reaching out to caress his cheek, "from the moment we met, we've been exploring the unknown together. Why stop now?" As they embraced, the Earth turning slowly beneath them, Alia thought about the journey that had brought them to this point. From first contact to the brink of war, from fugitives to ambassadors of a new age. Whatever challenges the future held, she knew they would face them as they had everything else. Together, with curiosity, courage, and an unwavering belief in the power of understanding. The stars stretched out before them, infinite in their promise. And for two beings from worlds apart, the greatest adventure was just beginning.